Hello, it's me, Alana. I'm so tired. It is like 3 o'clock in the morning, but it is what it is. Anyway, so, didn't introduce myself in the last video because I was just so focused. I was really focused on just like trying to make the video happen that I was like, names don't need them. Also, I'm wearing Lolita fashion today because I need an excuse to dress up. And I really love Lolita fashion. So here I am today. Might not wear Lolita next time. I don't think I actually am. But anyway. So welcome to another Magnus Archives video. If you didn't watch my last video, I'll put the link in the description. And it was a review on the 185, episode 185 transcripts that came out instead of the actual episode because it had some things to do with police brutality, and because of the things that have been happening in like Philadelphia and stuff, they decided to postpone it and post it next week, I believe, as well as like that episode that week. So they're posting 2 episodes next week. And so some fans had, I don't know, worries that it was like racist or whatever. They were talking about how it was bad or whatever. So I did a review of it myself because I didn't see a lot of like I didn't see any. Like, I'm not saying there were none, but I didn't see any like black people talking about it. So I was like, I'm black, I might as well talk about it. I'm a fan of Magnus Archives. Let's do it. And if you don't want to watch the whole thing, spoiler alert, because I wrote the question in the thumbnail was, is it racist? Not really, not to me. I don't think that it is. Again, I'm still open for any interpretations, especially if you're black. I'd love to hear your interpretations about the episode, as well as this one as well, because I think that it has to do with police brutality and talking about Daisy. So please let me know. I'm open to anyone's opinions, by the way. You don't have to be black, but I'd love to hear it, especially if you're black. It's kind of how I'm going with it. Anyway, so the topic on hand. So obviously I'm going to be talking spoilers. It's going to be vague spoilers for Magnus Archives, but I'm going to do my best to not do too many spoilers for a number of reasons. One, it's not that important so much the canon, because I'm talking about more so the fan interpretation of Daisy, and I don't want to make this video longer than it has to be. So yeah, spoilers, kind of. Then 2 more things that I want to talk about real quick. One was actually pointed out to me in the last video that I made as well, from the comments, and I just want to make some things clear. This is a critique very much so on the fan interpretation of Daisy and not really the canon version of Daisy. There's going to be a little bit in there because it's a bit of a crossover, but it is definitely more so a critique on the fan interpretation. A comment was talking about how I didn't exactly make that clear, so I want to make that clear. And secondly, I want to make it also clear that this is not an attack on people who love Daisy. It's more so just me asking for you to think about it versus just kind of like adopting this weird fan Daisy. So just think about it. Whether or not you choose to do something about it is up to you, obviously. I'm not even so much calling for action because it is what it is. I don't think that I can change anything so much about this, but just think about it. That's all I'm asking. And now that that's out of the way, let me think a couple more seconds to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I don't think that I did. Hopefully I didn't. If I did miss something, I'm gonna put a text card here if I missed something. Okay, now you're back. Hopefully I didn't miss anything, because that was embarrassing, wasn't it? Whatever I missed. Or good job, Alana. You did a really great job with not missing anything that you were supposed to miss. So if you don't know, if you've never seen Magnus Archives, you don't know what it is a horror podcast. highly recommend it. Check it out. Get it wherever you listen to podcasts. Okay, so Daisy. Daisy is a character she shows up, I believe, in around season 2, somewhere in season 2, and all you really need to know is that she is a police officer, police investigator, and she later in some of the seasons, I can't remember if it was season 2 or season 3, her backstory is given about how she did a lot of corrupt things, killing people, being very violent, being very aggressive, as a police officer. So she very much is a representation of police brutality. While there is some supernatural elements to her, overall, that's what she is. She is a representation of police brutality. You cannot cut it any other way. That is what it is. And her backstory in particular made me feel extremely uncomfortable. And by the way, that is not me negatively critiquing the podcast. I'm saying that's a good thing because it's a horror podcast. I expect to feel uncomfortable. Not only that, but it is talking about something, a very real issue, which is my actual problem with Daisy, which I will continuously go back to, is that is a real problem, and that Daisy, as a corrupt police officer, is a real person. So, later on in the season, in season 4, the supernatural elements that were contributing to her aggressive behavior, she starts to try to push back on it and deny it. And in the process of doing so, she kind of becomes this benign sort of character that's kind of just around. And that's kind of where my neutral attitude has come from, in terms of how I feel about her as a canon character. I was like, this is a character that I do not like at all, to she's kind of there. Which is how I felt before I started trying to get into the fandom. So after that, after season 4, and I started listening to a little bit of season 5, I was like, yeah, I want to check out the art and stuff now that I won't be too spoiled or anything. So as I started to do that, I started to notice some patterns, specifically with Daisy, and that was that people really, really liked her. And what you have to realize is, for me, it was super confusing because to me, Daisy was kind of just a character. There's so many. One of the things that I really, really love about TMA is that there's such a large amount, comparatively, a large amount of great women characters that, are really interesting and contribute a lot to the story. And I would even say that Daisy is a part of that. So, to me, though, there was this kind of weird, intense, I don't know, feelings towards Daisy. It wasn't I really like her and stuff. It was my werewolf girlfriend, my werewolf wife. I love her so much, and all this stuff. And a lot of the fans that were talking about this, because I'm not going to say all the fans, obviously, but a lot of the fans that would talk about this kind of stuff with Daisy was that they were feminine aligning. I wouldn't necessarily say they're all women, but they saw Daisy as a lesbian, which is totally fine. I have no problems with that, obviously, but seeing her as this lesbian character, and seeing her as this really this butch werewolf queen, basically. Butch lesbian werewolf queen, Daisy. And it was such a weird disconnect to me, because what I didn't understand was that this character that made me feel so uncomfortable, that represented a real horror. It wasn't like someone like Elias, for example, right? If someone really liked Elias, that I was trying to be friends with or something, and they were like, oh, I love Elias, I probably would distance myself a little bit from that person for other reasons, because I think if Elias is your favorite character, that's interesting for you, I guess. But the difference between Elias, a creepy magic man, and Daisy, is that creepy magic man don't really exist. You know, he's the type of monster that doesn't really exist, whereas Daisy and her corrupt police stuff that she was doing is real. Like, she is a real person. She might be in your local police department type of real. And that's what made me not understand the love for her so much. I was like, how can you say that you're, say, BLM and all this stuff and talk about the problems of police brutality and then be so in love with a character that represents police brutality? Do you see the disconnect that I'm having with it? Like, what I don't understand. And for a while, I really, really didn't get it. And it wasn't until, like, literally, like, yesterday that I started connecting the things in my head. So to me, what I've really figured out is that people, like, as people do in fandoms, so one of the really great things about fandoms is that they allow for there to be a lot of fun groupthink. I think there's a lot of like fun canon, like fan canons that people create, and you see it reflected in the fan art, and you see it reflected in the fiction or in the fan fictions and stuff. And it's really fun and really great to connect with people like that. But at the same time, then you get characters like Daisy where they kind of pick and choose, the fandom picks and chooses the things that they like about a character and then almost create a new character. So you have actual Daisy, who is a corrupt cop lady who represents police brutality, and then you have werewolf butch lesbian queen, you know? And butch lesbian werewolf queen in and of itself is totally fine. Like, that's great, that's awesome. But she's still in the canon. She's police brutality. So, wow, again, I know that people are, that's what they like. They like Daisy as the fan canon Daisy. For me, and I feel like for some people who either don't have big enough platforms to talk about it, which still is me obviously, but people who don't have big enough platforms to talk about it or just kind of get ignored, as that it's kind of uncomfortable that the fandom has kind of, at least parts of the fandom obviously, parts of the fandom have adopted this Daisy. And while I don't understand how it happens, now that it has happened, I see the Daisy, I can see the Daisy that people love so much. I now know that they're different. They're different Daisies. And I guess what it comes down to is, and what I'm asking for people who do really love Daisy, is like, you know, to think about people like me, you know, and think about it for yourself, like what it means for you to kind of ignore those parts of a character, you know, real parts of an actual human that exists on the earth. Because like I said, Daisies exist, they exist everywhere. And then to create this, you know, and again, some people are going to say it's just a podcast, because it is just a podcast, which is why I'm not going to get so angry about it. There's no point in getting super angry about it. But, you know, I would recommend you have a discussion with yourself and what that means. I can't answer that for yourself, but I know for me, I never really liked Daisy. I'm very anti-Daisy. Don't like her. If you can't tell, don't like her because of the way that the fandom has treated her. Like I said, some of the fandom. And so because of that, I've decided I don't like Daisy because of what she represents, and I'm very, you know, in my right to do so. And I think anyone is in their right to like whoever they like. But especially if you're out here saying that you support BLM, you support, you know, trying to reform, you know, police departments and all this stuff, and you support that type of thing. What does that mean for you, even though you support and love a character that is everything that is not that? So feel free to answer that for yourself. Maybe answer something like that in the comments. I'd love to know. And yeah, so that's kind of all I have to say about Daisy. and hopefully all that I'll ever have to say about tasting. Also, one more thing. So I am gonna make another video kind of vaguely related to TMA, and it specifically has to do with writing asexual characters. One of the things that I did not make clear at all, and I kind of feel bad for this, I did not make very clear, is that I think John is a great character. I think he's a great character. Totally fine representation of, or part of the representation of asexual characters. Have no problem with him in the podcast. The problems that I have with it have to do with the fan fictions, and I really want to make a video talking about a couple like tips and some things to do right in writing asexual characters. So that's something that I'm going to talk about in another video, probably not for a while, maybe like later this month. Hopefully I'll be able to get that one done. But yeah, that's everything. Hopefully I said everything that I need to say. Like I said, I'll put some text up if I didn't, because boy howdy, it's 3:41 in the morning and I would like to go to sleep. That is all for this video, and thanks for watching, and that is all. Bye.